Hello, everyone. Welcome to this third session of Multiple Universes. I'm James B. Barbieri, Associate Program Director here at the Mapuche Center, and I'll be your host for today. So as a host, any problems, technical or not, feel free to just drop me a message in the chat and I can try and help you out. Before we begin, I'd just like to remind everyone of a couple of Zoom rules for this call. First of all, we ask participants to turn off your microphone just to ensure a good audio quality during the presentation and Q&A. But at the same time, we do encourage you all to turn on your cameras. During Q&A and discussion, if you'd like to ask a question or make a contribution, you can either use the raise your hand function, which can be found at the bottom of your screen under reactions, or physically raise your hand. If I spot you, I'll call out your name, or you can even write your question in the chat if it makes you feel more comfortable and I can read it out for you. And then finally, this session is recorded for archival purposes and for you all. As always, the recording will be uploaded to Vimeo about 3 days after this session, so you should receive the link to this later. And yes, now we can begin today's session. Today we have the honor of introducing Geraldine Ann Patrick Encina and Mindahi Bastida Munoz. Geraldine is a founding member of the Biocultural Heritage Network of Mexico and a founder and executive director of Earth Timekeepers. She's also been a professor of interdisciplinary studies, complex system and MesoAmerican calendars at the University of State of Mexico and at the Universidad Autónoma Metropolitana Unidad Lerma. Mindahi is the director of the Original Nations program at the Fountain and a member of Mother Earth Delegation, an executive member of the Guardians of Mother Earth and spokesperson of the Grand Council of the Eagle and the Condor. Mindahi has also served as a delegate to commissions and summits of Indigenous rights and sustainability, including the Earth and World Summit of Sustainable Development of 2002. Today, Geraldine and Mindahi will talk about multiple universes in Mesoamerican cultures. So with that, I'll hand it over to you two. A very warm welcome from all of us.
We greet you today. It's a big honor to be here, invited by the Paris Center. As you heard, my name is Mindahi Bastida from the Otomi Toltec peoples from central Mexico, and also Damishi Geraldine.
Hello, greetings to everyone. I am Geraldine. I was born outside of Chile from Chilean parents with ancestral background coming from Mapuche peoples on my mom's side and Celtic peoples on my father's side. And I've been with Mindahi for the past 20 years, and we've raised 2 children in Mexico, in the highlands of Mexico, a very sacred valley with a lot of recent history, about 10,000 years at least. And yes, very happy to be here with you all. So we're going to begin by presenting a little bit about the cosmovision of the Otomi Toltec peoples, because it is within that understanding, and as Mindahi is coming from that lineage, that we have been able to explore deeply, both in practice and also in our different research lines, what it means to live right now and be in relation to the experiences of living in multiple dimensions and probably also multiple universes. So we're going to begin by sharing here our screen and bringing you into a little bit of our initial conversation. Okay.
So this is Makame. This is how we call Mother Earth. But it does have feminine and masculine energy. And it's a being. So everything that lives in this planet is holds energy. So the sea, what we call Father Sky, the atmosphere, the underneath, the rivers underneath, the rivers on the surface, and the rivers in the sky, the mountains, the creeks, the rivers, all that what we see and we can touch, we can smell, God's spirit, got this special energy. But we are embraced by this planet, this beautiful planet that we call Makame. Ma for mom, K for energy, and Me for also for Makata. Ta, Me is for the masculine energy as well. So in between exists this mystery. So that's the reason we are going to talk today about this being in relationship with other dimensions, in relationship with the universe, and in relationship with family of this planet. So for the beginning, this planet is traveling around the universe. And we call Grandma Moon, Zana, is the mom of this planet. We call the father son, Katahiari, is the father of us, and is a relative of this planet that also gives a lot of energy. But that is reflected in the womb, also in the womb of this beautiful being that gave us so much warmth and food and also beautiful landscapes and manscapes. So that's the reason we can dream. And when we can dream with her and other beings, it's so beautiful because also we are in connection with this mystery. So human beings, for the beginning, we are just another species. And that's the reason we call all our relations with our relatives, the mountains, the mammals, the animals, the insects, the reptiles, and all that exist, even the crystals, the very tiny micro beings that exist in this world, and is a reflection of the universe. So we consider four sacred elements in this dimension. The first one is the fire, the water, the wind, and the earth. Those are the four sacred elements. And I want to say that and to stress that these are elements of life, not resources, but sacred elements. So in this connection with the universe, it's very important to acknowledge that we have diversity. Every being has its own place and time and space in this universe. We don't have another one exactly the same. It cannot be possible. Every single being that exists in this world has its own place. So we also have our own place. Next, please. So we consider that we have 9 levels around this being, taking into consideration that we are not talking about human beings now. We are talking about this planet, this Mother Earth, in connection with the universe. In connection with the universe. So these 9 levels is how this being is been evolving, let's say evolving from the 3 primordial levels, the inferior levels. They are composed by 3, meaning that inferior, inferior, medium, inferior, superior. Then the medium levels, the medium inferior, medium medium, medium superior, and the 3 ones that are the superior levels, the superior inferior, superior medium, and superior superior. Just to let you know that this is the transcendence of this planet in the evolution of this dimension that she is living, or she is evolving. Where are we today? Today, Mother Earth is evolving from the medium inferior to medium medium. And I want to really explain that it comes along with the prophecies that we have and we have studied. There is this prophecy of the new dawn. The other one is the eagle and the condor, but mostly around the new dawn. It was in 2013, and Geraldine is going to explain a little bit more about that, but we have 13 years of cleansing before entering to the new dawn. We are in the process of this cleansing process. So from the medium inferior to the medium medium, that this planet is evolving, many things are happening. So you see the arrow, we are around there. And this is the time of unification process that we call as well, where the original peoples from the south and the north are coming together. And again, bringing back ancestral wisdom to live in peace with this planet, but also in responsibility. It's not enough to live in peace, but in obligations. So that's the reason we are talking about bringing back the original instructions, the original principles to live in peace and harmony and in responsibility with this planet. So far, it has been more than 5,000 years that we have been misbehaving. And Mother Earth is going to transcend anyway with us or without us. And we can say more about this at the end. So these are the levels that we are, sorry?
There's the curriculum. No?
So the inferior levels that the planet has passed in the past have been very difficult, very difficult, because for millions of years, this process to have the beauty that we have in this planet, many things have happened. Not just the presence of the fire, but also the floods, many called diluvios or deluge, or diluvios in Spanish. But these floods have happened not just once, but several times. Also the explosion of the volcanoes and all the gases that have emitted in the atmosphere in the past has been very difficult for life to flourish. So this is a big opportunity for us as human beings and for other beings to live in this beautiful planet. So now, can we pass the next, please? Okay, so this is getting more complex now. You see, Mother Earth is here in connection now with the dimensions. And we also explain these dimensions in 9 that are related to the levels that Mother Earth has been in the past, at least in the inferior levels. So these dimensions are in R9 as well. And you can see that we are here, around here, right? And we are evolving to go to the next level. So let me explain. The planet interacts with these other dimensions at the same time, always. But there are specific time and places that it occurs more, let's say, visible. And that's the reason we have special hours to get connected with these dimensions, if not in matter, in spirit. So we always acknowledge the 7, the 12, the 3, and the 7, and again in the night. The 12, the 3, which is the most powerful one, the 3 p.m., the 3 a.m. So every time Mother Earth is traveling, it's encountering this special energy when we see sunset, and we see also the dusk, at dusk. And there are special dates like May 3rd or November the 2nd, or the equinoxes and solstices that are also very important because they are, Mother Earth is aligned in relationship with the sun, the moon, and other planets. So coming back to the dimensions, how this planet is interrelated to these dimensions is because Mother Earth has been in previous time in the inferior levels, but also is in connection with other medium levels and superior levels. Now, it's not just human beings that we can access to this connection with these other dimensions. In dimensions interact, meaning that other beings can also be, let's say, present in this world for certain time, for 40 times that you can see beings that cannot be seen in regular time and space. And they are coming from this dimension. So we can also access, and other beings can also access to these other dimensions through portals. So how do we call this phenomenon? We call enchantments, because these enchantments allows us to get in. And who really can go into these dimensions? I could say that because of lineage and because of preparation as well, and with the help and the support with sacred plants and sacred special rituals or special ceremonies. I'm going to tell you about my own experience in body, mind, and spirit, and later on in just in spirit. I've been able to be in those, in at least in one of each dimension. I don't know if it was the inferior or inferior medium, but I've been in one of those inferior levels. First of all, I want to share with you when I was in body, mind, and spirit in one of those inferior levels. I was, at that time, I was a politician in the 90s, 1992. I was being conformed by the Green Party in Mexico, and I was part of the executive committee at the national level. So I had a lot of duties to go around Mexico. And I went to this beautiful state in central Mexico, which is called Guanajuato. I was visiting the peoples in San Luis de la Paz, nearby Pozos. And also I was visiting the Chichimeca peoples. So I was there with one of the leaders of the Green Party and another person who was accompanying me. We were three of us. It was very late. We were going to stay in Guanajuato City, but the other leader had to be very early in the morning for a meeting in Mexico City. So he decided to go and leave Guanajuato State, but on his own. And I said, no, you are not going to go on your own because it's very late. Let's go together. So we began to drive back to Mexico. And it was kind of late, but we wanted to buy some water or something to drink. We were on the highway from passing Querétaro city towards Mexico City. And there's a huge highway. And you know, on the way, there are certain places where you can stop and buy things, but it was too late. So it was not easy to find an open place to stop and get something. So I was opening my eyes. The person in the back was sleeping, and this other leader was driving. So from far, I saw this place. It was kind of, let's say, kind of a cottage, a bar cottage. And I told him, oh, see, there is something open. So we can stop here and buy some drinks. So we stopped over there. And the person who was in the back, I told her, hey, wake up, because we're going to get something. So all of three went into the place. It was very kind of very good and relaxed place, and people were talking each other. They were so happy, and I felt something. My body was feeling something, like when you are you get chills. You know, when you get this strange energy in your body, and when you get, you know, a lot of vibration in your body. So I felt strange. I said, what is going on? Why am I feeling this? So we were in the queue. There was a queue, and many people were around, but I felt something. Suddenly, we were there, I don't know how many minutes, maybe 5, 10, I don't know. But I began to feel something else. I saw the people with fire around in their eyes. Something was kind of, you know, when there's a flame in there, but very like in the eye, that it was kind of bulb, flaring. And then I said, oh, but I saw just one, and then I saw the other one, and the other one, and the other one, and many others. All of them have this kind of eyes. So I was checking their wearing, their costumes, the garments. It was a little bit, it was quite different, to tell the truth. And none like I haven't seen in this world, like those kind of materials, very thick. Some of them were very thick things, and when I saw their feet, they were not using a kind of shoes or things like that. They were floating. I couldn't see their feet because they were floating. So at that time, I got really worried. And I was telling my friend, hey, don't say anything. We should leave. We should leave right now. But he was saying, no. We are almost, they are going to give us the drinks. And I said, please, don't even talk. Don't even say anything. We need to leave right away. And I grabbed him very like this, firmly. And he was not making peace to me. So I had to grab him very strongly. So, and I said, please. So he followed me, and this other woman who was with us also followed us, but very strangely. And I said to them, don't even see anybody, just leave.
Look in their eyes.
Don't look around. Don't look around. So we left the place, and then we went into the car. And when we were about to leave, turn on the engine, and we were leaving. And I was staring back, by the second, the place was not there anymore. It was amazing. I can tell you that this experience that I lived, it was with my body, my mind, my spirit. That's the first experience.
And it belongs to this middle central dimension where that kind of
it belongs around here.
Energies
is what manifest. What I can say, because it was very enchanting, but a little bit low level.
Yes.
But very fast, I want to share with you a superior around here in body as well. It was in 1984, 1985. It was in 1987 when we had the chance to travel to the Chiapas state. You know Chiapas? Chiapas is very famous because it's the most beautiful jungles in Mexico, where the Lacandon and other Mayan peoples live. The place, the state of Chiapas is amazing, not just because of the ancestral pyramids that are around, like Palenque or other places like Tonina, but also because there are beautiful places like the Cascadas de Iguazú, the blue water cascadas, waterfalls. But also there is a place where you can see lakes with colors. One lake with some color and the other lake with other colors. So those are called Lagunas de Montebello lakes. The reason we were there because I was studying tourism at that time, as a bachelor, and we won this trip for 15 days to go into the southern Mexico. So we arrived there, and I always always ask if there is something else to visit. So we were already visiting the lakes, so beautiful lakes, in the middle of forests. So a person told me, oh, you can go over there to the cave, and by the cave there is a river that is being swallowed by the earth, and that's a phenomenon. But I was more interested in the cave. So we went in, and there was a guy with some German people carrying out a ritual at the entrance. And the person who told me go to the cave, he said, you can go into the cave and then go to the right, and there is another exit right away. Just right away you can go. So I told my classmates, who wants to go with me? And 5 of them came with me, and all of them men, very young people, and the rest were almost most of them were women who were traveling with us in 2 buses. So we went in. Instead of going to the right, we went straight. Because listen, in Spanish, you can say derecho and derecha. Derecho means straight, and derecha means right, to the right. So you get confused. You get confused when you know, when you receive this word instruction. You can go straight or to the right. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but it made a lot of difference. I can tell you. Instead of going to the right, because there was a ritual passing that, so we didn't want to interrupt, we went straight, derecho. Oh my God. Oh, Makihmu. We went in, and we had this one lantern, you know, lamp. We were straight, and the minutes passed by, and it was all dark, like we could hear the river underneath going very far away. So there was a cliff, and in the cave we were just walking by the side, holding hands, and soon after the lamp went off because the batteries, because you know, when you go into these caves, something happened to the batteries, and it can be off. So I don't know how much time passed, but we saw like very tiny light, like let's say on the other side. And I said, oh, I can see the other side. Finally, with lots of effort, we arrived to the other side, and there was like the outside of the cave. And you can imagine the most beautiful, the most amazing place I ever seen in my life. I began to see the flowers. You can imagine the roses, all different colors, and the colors I have never seen. And these big leaf palms and trees. But I saw something. I saw these huge ceiba trees, huge ones. They were like big dads or big mamas for all the forest. One here, kilometers away or miles away, another one, and another one, and another one. It was like a huge, huge garden. Everything was like well in its place, like beautiful, just like perfect. So what happened is that we didn't see anything else, like no buses, no people, no nothing, no no puestos,
trails.
no trails. And there was a kind of a little trail, but it was not very visible. So we followed that. But one of our friends had just shorts. He didn't have pants. So most of the plants had these spines, these needles, and he was being hurt by the needles. So he began to, to kind of be uncomfortable. And at the end, I knew that he was very scared. He began to cry. And I talked with him, don't cry. I'm saying, what are you crying? You are going to do something, you are not going to help with the others if you begin to cry. So I told him, I'm going to climb one tree and see if there is something we could see and go. And I'm good with climbing trees ever since I was a little one. So I climbed that tree. It was so beautiful. What I saw is it was like a green sea with beautiful colors everywhere. And I didn't see anything else. I could hear some birds, like the papanes. I've heard once in the jungle, but more other ones, other kind of papanes, other kind of birds. So finally, I came down. I told them, no, there is no way. The only chance we have is to go back on our steps and go back. But they said, no, it's going to be very difficult. We could die. And I said, it's the only way. But some, in other words, some wanted to say, oh, we can stay here. They were being caught by the energy. I said, no, we must go. So there were some little discussions and here and there. At the end, we went back in the cave with no light. So just remembering how we came in and how we went back.
Walking back in your steps, on your steps.
Walking back on our steps. So finally, we went back all the way, and we were able to see on the other side this beautiful light, which was the light that where we entered at the beginning. So then we were happy. I don't know how many hours passed by, but I can tell you that because my sister was with me, I invited her for the trip, and my partners, most of them females, they were crying. They were crying, all of them. When they saw us, they were so happy. We didn't even share with them what had happened. They didn't understand. So the only thing we said to them is that we were lost and we were trying to look for the way back. So I can tell you that I don't know, but it was almost when we entered, it was around 11 a.m. and when we came back, it was 5 p.m. But for us, it was just like less than an hour, or I don't know. It was, and when we were there in this other place, it was different. The sensation of the time was so different because it was like the time extended. We were there and we were very comfortable. It was so beautiful. So that those are, I have another experience being in matter, but I won't tell you this time because I want to tell you how I have visited in the inferior levels with my spirit. So we can finish and then go back to the dimensions and to the multiple universe that we can we understand, or it's not that we just understand, we feel. Anyway, so we went back and then we continued the trip. But it's always in my heart, that place. When I went back and I told my grandpa, my father, and he said, you were in enchantment place, enchantment. Like the other time when you were later on in Guanajuato and Querétaro on your way back to Mexico. But he said something, my grandpa said something. This time, when you were in Chiapas, Lagunas de Montebello, it's a beautiful place to stay, but it's not for us to stay as humans. We can stay, but you cannot transcend. I'm going to explain later on what it means. In the other place where I was with these other two people, in Querétaro, is an inferior level. It's very, very difficult because if they see you and they can catch you, other spirits take advantage and they can catch you, they can live in you because it's the only way they can live those levels. Well, anyway, with rituals and ceremonies, I've been able to go into these dimensions, and that's the reason I understand. At least I believe I understand these dimensions and these multiple universes. When I had this special ritual with my father, my brother, and another companion, we were in a place in Mexico State where we have some relatives in a place called San Pablo in the Sumpahuacan municipality south of Toluca City, which is the capital of Mexico State. So we were there, and these rituals happens in the night. We were around the fire, always around the fire. And we began to have these visions. This is when I saw these multiple dimensions. Can you please put the next? Yeah. You can see this, right? It's what I saw more or less, but different. Every dimension was different, but I could see at the same time, 9 of them. And that's the reason I understand how my ancestors are telling us about this. What I'm sharing with you is sacred and secret knowledge, secret wisdom. This is, let's say, this is used to represent what I saw. It's not the same. But you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, until 9, with different shapes and different tones of lights at the same time. So I got overwhelmed. My brain couldn't and cannot even understand, even imagine until what it means. But I can tell you that it was astonishing. It was a lot. So I instead of seeing in that direction, I came back to see and to see and to watch the fire. And I was asking the fire, please tell me what is this? And the fire showed me very next to me, next to my feet, this very complex diagrams, geometric, and you know, like the chips, you know how they are designed, like that, like those ones, but traveling, like a vehicle traveling in between, in between the gold and in between other circuits and colors. Was amazing. I still didn't understand, but what I felt and what I understood is that yes, we can have access to these dimensions through this planet,
the Earth,
through the Earth. No, not just ourselves. No, it's through this planet. And I was in spirit.
So that's, yeah.
That's when I was around here. I believe I was around here.
Down here, no?
Yeah, I mean, down, I'm sorry, down here. I don't know if you see down here.
The arrow.
The arrow, the figure. Why? Because I saw coming these spirits, very deceiving spirits, trying to take over. Not just with me, but with my brother. So we had to struggle every single second against this. But there were other spirits that were trying to support and help us, and we were very aware about that. I was conscious. So then we asked to the fire, please help us, support us, and we were able to wrap it and you know, come back. And I have had many other experiences around this. I'm just telling you that in spirit, it is possible to visit all of these dimensions. But let me tell you something. You need to be prepared for that. You can get support from certain sacred rituals, sacred elements, sacred plants, but also when you go into, especially with body, it's because you come from a lineage. And that's the reason my grandpa was able to visit all these other dimensions as well. But I can find that we all have the chance to go to these other dimensions, but we need to be prepared for that. It's like learning how to walk. So please, I don't know how much time do we have, but that's the reason I've been trying to.
Yeah, we're here, talking about lineage and responsibility.
Okay. So it means that we need a lot of, to be responsible about our acts, about how we can enter. So let me tell you something very special, very, very special. If you're not prepared, don't even try. You need to be prepared for that. Because if you go to those inferior levels, most of the time you get caught. You can come and go around, but you are not you anymore. You are somebody else or something else, because the spirit caught you. Caught you. So please bear in mind that. And talking about responsibility, you need to be responsible. If you have the chance to go to these other dimensions, all the time, we need to be humble, but very, very alert. Because in this dimension where we are here in matter and spirit and body, is the only dimension that we can transcend. If you go because of the earth, because we are traveling with her, because if you go to other superior dimension and you stay there, you cannot transcend the same way as we should, as we must. If you go to the inferior and you stay there and you are caught, even less, because you are all the time you are going to be suffering. So the only chance for us to transcend is through this planet, through this dimension, as human beings and many other beings around, or many other beings on their own. So that's very special to say. So that's the reason we need to bear in mind that we are here in this world for a purpose, for a special way of being, act, and feel in this world. What we call Mother Earth or Makata Makame. So I want to pass the word now to Geraldine, because as I have seen from the beginning, and is the last thing I want to say now for this time, is that when I was able to go into the origins, and I saw the origins. I saw this connection, and I saw the many layers, how these are like keys to go into those dimensions. And when you see the origins, there is this in between. There's that in between. And it's the most wonderful expression of energy that you can find in the universe and in the tiny, tiny, tiny things. So it's all intertwined, but you can see many, many layers. And you can see that there's not just one place. There are multiple. And that's the reason we can't even travel through dreams to other universes. Because apart from these nine dimensions and 9 levels of Mother Earth to transcend, there are other ones. And maybe I can explain in another session.
Yeah. And do you want to say about what you saw at the beginning in that origin, where there's different energies that are touching and producing friction or fusion or fission?
Yes, when you saw this, like intertwined, these two intersections, in between there was being produced this special spark, special energy. And it was not just, I saw one, but there were other ones, and infinite in all directions. But I was able to touch, let's say, base with one of those. And then
it brought you out.
Well, I was able, because until I was there, until I realized that it was possible, I could a little bit understand what was going on. Then I came back.
Yeah, when you received that consciousness about the
origins.
Yes, the multiple ways there can be origins.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so please, Geraldine.
So yeah, talking about the multiple ways that there can be origins, what we understand is that there can be both events of expansion and of implosion as well. And there can be these pulsations going on simultaneously. And when it comes to identifying whether there is a concept of a Big Bang for the Mesoamerican people, we can consult this one stela, which is in Cobá, Quintana Roo, Mexico, where their representation of time and of an origin is done in this way, with this glyph that has 2 bars and 3 dots representing 13, a value of 13, and where from the 13 Baktun value, where a Baktun is a cycle of time of 400, almost 400 years, 13 of those is a lot of time, almost 5,200 years. And on top of this value of the Baktun, there is a next level that increases by 20. And on top of that, multiplied by 13, but this value of time is itself increased by a multiple of 20. And on top of that, there's another multiple of 20 and another multiple of 20. And you go upwards and into the depths of time so much, 21 times, including this first level of a cycle of Baktun, that when it is expressed in years, we are in this figure of 9 amounts of 3 zeros, which is called a nonillion. So we're talking about almost 42 nonillion years, which compared to the billions of years that we with the scientists have been able to calculate, is about, it's as though there had been an origin or another Big Bang 3 times as deep as we are being told about the creation of this universe. And with that, one comes to wonder whether, we are within an explosion of another explosion, for instance, which could be, in fact, something possible, or we are in an event of explosion within an event of implosion, which has also been considered by scientists. And it just speaks to the complexity of this notion of what the universe is about, and what is all, the multiple possibilities of existence that are simultaneously happening. There is not enough understanding about what these Maya and these Olmec minds were about. The access to information, the access to the access to the existence of the universe or multiple universes that the Olmecs may have had is beyond our imagination. Nevertheless, like Mindahi says, there's lineages and there's practices, ritual practices that enable you to, have that connection to those possibilities and to develop these notions that then can be represented in this way, in a scale of time. And then when we speak about time from the Western perspective, we are always imagining a very constant linear time. And obviously, scientists and relativists have gone beyond that model, of course. So time has all sorts of folds, and then there's this opportunity to have access to, from one point A to point B, because there's this folding where these two dimensions have the opportunity to meet and interact. So, for what we're seeing here in this representation with these glyphs is definitely bundles of cycles, and it gives us the notion of cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles of different scales. And with that, what can be represented as cycles of time and scales of time can give us the notion of scales of spaces, and then of course these different locations of spaces and different breadths of expanded space can be all interacting with each other in different ways. There can be different densities, let's say, to these spaces. There can be different vibrations. There can be different physical properties to all of these locations. Let's say if we were able to identify them in a matrix, within a matrix. And so, again, like Mindahi was saying, what we are able to comprehend, we need to understand that it is under the consciousness of Earth. We are within that consciousness of Earth, and we are within this being that has had her history of evolution. And as a being, she is having her own evolutionary, trajectory, and it is a very accidental trajectory. It's not, again, it's not a trajectory that has very well identified steps. But nevertheless, we can understand that there has been already, events for Earth that have been within the realm of the very, very dense, very thick, very with physical properties and all sorts of nuclear properties that are very different from the properties that we are living today, and that enable us to vibrate with Earth in a kind of consciousness that enables us to think and imagine and conceive of the universe with its multiple properties. So we have been co-evolving, and for different civilizations, the capacity to grasp what the consciousness of Earth is about, and where Earth comes from, and where Earth is going towards, is different depending on the civilization. And also there is an understanding in the Mesoamerican cosmovision that the Earth will transcend and continue with the expansion of her consciousness, regardless of whether humanity or human beings are accompanying her or not. But for the Mesoamerican wisdom keepers, it is definitely much it is expected by Earth, let's say, that we would go in tandem with Mother Earth, that we would, could be able to vibrate in the same vibration as Mother Earth is vibrating, and that whatever challenges the Earth is having today, they will be overcome, in tandem with contributions that humanity can make. So in that regard, that's where responsibility has a big role for humanity, and that is when this tone over here becomes relevant, because this tone is speaking about the 5 suns that humanity with this level of consciousness about Mother Earth having her own evolution and humanity needing to work in tandem with responsibility to overcome challenges and to advance in consciousness. So to better understand the purpose of life again for Mother Earth, it will be easier to understand that purpose of life as we work in tandem and with responsibility and according to the original instructions. And as long as we have, overcome the challenges of each of the 5 eras or the 5 suns. So if you are a little bit familiar with this stone, well, it is a huge basaltic stone that was carved probably by the Otomi Toltec peoples and not by the Aztecs. The Aztecs only, appropriated the stone as a trophy of war, and it's the result of their own means to take over a peoples with its own governing system, as was the Otomi Toltec at the time of the Aztecs' arrival to the Valley of Mexico around the 1300s. So this stone was probably designed and carved towards the mid-1300s, and then it was taken to this temple in the Temple of the Sun in the city of Tenochtitlan in central valley of Mexico.
Which is now Mexico City.
And it is now, kept in a museum, in the most important museum in Mexico City. And what it represents is definitely the notion of time. I don't know if you can see our arrow here, but these segments within this first ring are relative to each of the units of the day. So there's a 20-day cycle that is very important for all of Mesoamerican timekeeping systems. And then within that first ring, there are 4, let's say, glyphs with different figures. And on the top right, there's the figure of the head of a jaguar. And then on the top left, there is the figure of this, it's a beak of a duck with some headdress on top, and it's representing the wind. And then there is in the bottom left a representation of this is a representation of the rains falling. It's upside down, but it's rains falling. And this one over here is representation of a water spring. So it speaks about these 4 eras where, different trials for Mother Earth to raise a a you know, a let's say a generation of humans or their like that would work in her benefit. So the first trial, you know, had misbehavior among this group of like you know, very primitive kind of human beings that was not worth, you know, Mother Earth's time, let's say. So the Jaguars came and took over and just got rid of this first trial of human beings. And then there was another trial, and the Winds finished that group off because they were no good either for, you know, the evolution of consciousness of Earth. And then there was a third trial, but then came a deluge of rain. And then there was a fourth trial when there was also, everything was flooded. And then there's a fifth sun, and the fifth sun is represented by this like big symbol, which is like this shape of, some people say it's a butterfly. And with this fifth sun, there has been this trial of a civilization of the people of the corn that has lasted for around 5,200 years, and that had a time of completion with an event of an eclipse. Well, there were 3 events of eclipse that did happen throughout 2012. There was a solar eclipse and a moon eclipse that were not very, you know, there were no total eclipses, but they were significant because of the position of Venus, which is the most important celestial being, which is actually considered to be a very important agent that brings precisely consciousness to, you know, humanity and also to all the living beings on Earth. So Venus, as a living, conscious entity that is bringing consciousness and bringing original instructions and reminding us, has played a very, very important role in the opening and closing of each of these eras. The same hence for the fifth era, where Venus in 2012, around the 6th, if I recall well, of June, came and made a transit on the sun's face. Remember the transit of 2012 in June of Venus? Well, that was calculated, foreseen, and marked as very, very relevant for the closing of the fifth sun. What does that mean? Where does that locate us as a humanity for Mesoamerica, the people of the corn? Well, it locates us at a very critical moment for the people of the corn, where by 2012, when this Venus transit was gonna be happening, most probably the people of the corn would have forgotten enough, you know, of most of the population that had been for generations been living around the corn and relying on all the you know, all that it entails to cultivate the corn. They would have forgotten about the ceremonies that went with the corn, the significance of the corn, about their ancestral, the ancestors' teaching around the corn and around the origin of this civilization, and around the responsibilities that this civilization had, not only with the corn, but with Mother Earth, with the respect of the rainy season, the respect of the dry season, and when we say respect, it's also, you know, not forcing the weather, not forcing the plants to grow beyond the season, not forcing any of the natural cycles that enable life, and that Mother Earth took so long to, you know, to create the conditions for this beautiful, you know, life and biodiversity, and just for the continuation of life for humanity. So ever since 2012, for the Otomi Toltec, there has come a time of deep self-evaluation, you know, deep revision of the behavior. It's always about the behavior and how we continually as a species fail to keep up to the standards that are expected from us. So we are in this 13-year cycle where, according to the almanacs that speak to ceremonies that need to be done for the reestablishment of a harmonious way of living in tandem with Mother Earth, well, these almanacs speak about 13 years. And what needs to happen within these 13 years until 2025 is a full cleansing of our, you know, of our own body, of our own mind, and of our own spirit. And with that cleansing, a replenishment of the energy that will be needed to recover this harmony with Earth. So, you know, what we want to convey here with Mindahi is that, well, this is representation of Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl is the master, is embodied in the celestial body, which is Venus, has this capacity to come right into, you know, through our third eye and to our pituitary gland and pineal glands. Because when we meditate at sunrise or at sunset, that's when we will be able to connect directly with the glowing white bluish light of Venus. And by doing that, it is understood that we are going to be connecting the right and the left hemisphere, so that we will have the capacity to expand our consciousness and therefore understand our role here with Mother Earth. It's not about us, you know, there's no like human mission that is isolated, you know, from the rest of the entities and beings within which we live. It's not about human beings, it's about Earth, and it's about you know, how we work in service for and with the responsibility that it entails for Mother Earth's own, you know, evolution and advancement. The two colors that we see here, which are the same colors that we saw in this representation of the different 9 dimensions, are very central to the, the reminder that water and fire, when they meet, they will produce, this vapor, and it is the what happens like physically, the molecules within this water vapor is something unique that allows us to connect with the to the mystery. And that connection to the mystery, when we do a ceremony in a sweat lodge and water and fire connect and interact, so to produce this water vapor, that is a very sacred phenomenon that allows us to expand our consciousness, connect with the mystery, and respect the fact that we are traveling in this beautiful being, that she herself is traveling in this huge in interaction with all these other beings, that we are. It's a family, it's a solar system, but then again, the solar system is traveling within this other current that is very well known by the Mesoamerican people. This Milky Way current is in many of the origin stories as well, and then how we're traveling beyond. So to live in the mystery is important. We should really try, especially today as humanity, try to avoid dissecting and putting numbers to every single component of those universes that may be beyond ours. Because if we do that, we might our minds are not capable of theorizing and producing the single one theory. And when we try to grasp the ungraspable, we might in fact become very people that have lost the awe for life, and when we lose the awe for life, it's like we cannot be children anymore, and then what's the reason to live? So I would close with that. I don't know if Mindahi wants to say something else.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And the expression of the feather serpent is the expression of the mystery itself. And at the same time, the Quetzalcoatl is very close where I witnessed when I went to these other layers. And that's the reason I really love this notion. And also because during these 5 suns that have occurred, there has been the presence of Quetzalcoatl as a being materialized. And we are waiting for his coming again. It would be the 5th coming, right? So we are about to witness from the year 2026 and onwards the coming back of this divine being to remind us how to live, not just in peace, but in responsibility with life. So thank you.
Thank you both so much for this. This has been really, really incredible session. Thank you so much, Mindahi, for sharing your stories and your experiences. I love the visual aspect of your stories, how they're very visual. And thank you so much, Geraldine, for giving us this concept of time in this worldview and our place in the universe, given this concept of time. So thank you both so much for this. I'd just like to invite in the chair of this event, director of the Party Center, Shantena Sabadini, to see if he has any comments or questions for you both.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, both of you, Mindahi and Geraldine. Wonderful, wonderful journey you led us on. Many questions come to me, but I'll try to be short and just focus on a couple of questions. It's very interesting to me, this notion of the planet Venus, or Quetzalcoatl, as bringer of consciousness to human beings. In Western mythology, Venus is certainly associated to a feminine energy. I wonder whether Quetzalcoatl also has this feminine quality, or both qualities, or that's one question. Another one is, I find it very comforting, this notion that Mother Earth expect us to work in tandem with her. So it's not like we tend to have this notion of our evolution. It's like really the Earth's evolution, of which we are part, and we can be a more or less willing part. And at present, we're not very willing. But it's a comforting idea to me, which in a way it reminds me of another approach, which is completely different and leads to different things, but still has the same seed, that the Earth evolves. And that's James Lovelock and his notion of that we might disappear as a species, but the Earth will keep evolving with whatever will be there. And well, many other interesting questions I would like to ask you, but let me stop here so that we give time to people also to ask their questions. Any comments on these notions, Quetzalcoatl?
Yes, yeah, Quetzalcoatl is definitely considered. Okay, so there's the notion that it is both. It has both sexes together, and so also the color, the two colors are speaking to that. So the fire is a masculine and the water is a feminine energy. And in the four directions, that they're always represented and associated with colors and with elements in the MesoAmerican system of representation of where we are. So the east will be related to the fire and to the masculine energy. And so the sun rising will be a masculine, entity, and Venus that is seen in the east at dawn will be a masculine entity that is, that's doing, it's announcing the coming of the sun at dawn. And then when we see Venus in the evening, it is related to a sun that is, the sinking sun that is in the west, and it's a feminine energy that is taking over, and Venus appears in the sky, and it's definitely a feminine aspect of Venus that is coming in. And so it's a she, and she is the one over. There's three different ethnic groups that span between central Mexico for the Otomi peoples, Otomi Toltec peoples, and goes as far south as the Mamos or Mams in Guatemala. So, you know, it's a big range of territory. And in 3 languages, there's this saying that it's she, the overseer of supper time. So she was taking care that the families are coming back together at the end of the day and taking supper. So that's a she being. And yeah, there's many stories speaking about the twins, the twin brother, their brother and sister. So they're together and they show up in the cornfield as a little girl and a little boy, and a corn plant may have 2 stuck together, and we know that they are going to be brother and sister together as twins. So yeah, there's different ways that the Quetzalcoatl is manifesting this dual sex. Yeah. Anything else?
Just say that Venus is the most important star for the Otomi Toltec. It's the leading star, and it's the most powerful when you see during the night. It's the most powerful and bright star. That also is related to the big mystery, but it's teaching us how to live in harmony in cycles, together with the moon and of course the sun, and remembering that we are always traveling. We are travelers, and this leading star is telling us about this narrative about how we travel with responsibilities and in conjunction with other celestial bodies.
Would you like to comment also about the Earth expecting us to move in step with her?
Oh, yes. Yes. I must tell you that it was around the 90s that we began to hear some songs in a very, very deep rituals with some of the spiritual leaders. And it talks about this, you know, when we have special prayers, we always sing that song, which is called Na Ninguna Ningu Shincuentra Shimoy Kibutu, which means, in other words, like our house, wake up, stand up. But it's Mother Earth that is telling us to stand up. And we are praying with her to stand up together. So, in other words, she's telling us to stand up with her in this deep relationship, in this deep responsibility to raise consciousness and this consciousness that we have as beings. So in that prayer, we also ask to other beings to stand up, to wake up, because we are living through difficult times of plenty. So we are beginning to also pray around that. So in summary, we are witnessing how Mother Earth is telling us to behave. And if we want to continue this journey with her. So yes, she's a very loving being, but it's beginning to tell us, to teach us how to behave, because there are inherent laws in the universe and in nature and in the cosmos that we cannot evade. We cannot just ignore or take for granted. So that's what we are hearing, that yes, we need to work together. And the unification process talks about that. It's not just about the unification process of peoples, but also about beings, and mostly with this beautiful planet.
Thank you so much, Antina, for your questions. And thank you so much, Geraldine and Mindahi, for your contribution. So yes, now we can open it up for everyone. As I said earlier, to ask your question, you can use the raise your hand function on Zoom under reactions, physically raise your hand, or ask your question in the chat and I can read it out for you. I can already see Bernard, you already have your hand up, so please come in.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you for a most interesting presentation. Like Shantina, I was intrigued by some of the remarks you made about time. And I have to say, Geraldine, I was thrilled when you showed that Atomi Toltec stone of suns, because I have one of those downstairs in my living room. I picked it up in Mexico 40 years ago, but I never really understood it until you described it. So, well, it was worth waiting 40 years. So thank you for that. And also, you made these references. I should say I'm an astronomer and a cosmologist, so I'm used to big numbers. But I'd never heard of a nonillion before, which is not bigger than I'm normally thinking about. But I have a specific question. When Mindahi was describing his experiences, it was all very Earth-based. I mean, you know, and you had the picture of the Earth, and you had the nine stages and things like that. But then later on, you showed your image, which I assume was a sort of artistic impression, not a photograph. But the image, to me, that was like a galaxy. In fact, it was like a galaxy with jets coming out in the middle. And then later on, when Geraldine was talking about big timescales, I mean, you were talking about, I think, 4.2 nonillion years. Well, you know, the Earth is only 4.5 billion years old. So you're talking there about cosmological timescales. You're not talking about terrestrial timescales. Yeah. So the question I'm asking is, I'm trying to understand the sort of hierarchy of scales involved here. Although you were talking about the Earth, when you talk about these different dimensions, are you really talking about portals to much larger scales? Are you talking about, you know, solar system, galactic, or even cosmic scales? Because that somehow seemed to be the implication. But again, you were actually, in your pictures, we're always talking about Earth, and you were talking about earthbound problems. So I'll be very grateful if you could clarify that.
Well, let me tell you something from experiences that we have heard. From my grandpa and other people very related to me, and even with people that once in a while we gather and we exchange experiences, or I mean knowledge. And you know, when you go to this other dimension, time is different, space is different, meaning that my grandpa, for example, met some people, some compadres, as we call them, you know, very close family. And once that he had this beautiful experience, going to this other dimension, and where he was able to bring some things. He went in and together with other two compadres, with other two close friends, and they were said that you can take everything, but some of this kind of, let's say, gold, you cannot take the gold out. And when the sunset was about to begin, people were saying to them, here and there, you need to go back, because if you stay, you are not going to be able to go back, or it's going to be different. meaning that he met a friend of his, that he stayed there for one night, let's say one night, in this other dimension. And here has passed one full year. In other experiences, it has happened like 50 years, 500 years, and more. What does it mean? It means a lot of complexity in thinking about time. But even more, in my spiritual experiences that I have been, you know, I have lived, I have felt myself living more lives than here on this earth. I have had experiences where time is so different because when we are talking about terrestrial time, it's so different in other dimensions. Plus, in other universe, it's even more. I remember once when I was having this very special dream. I was feeling myself. I was touching myself if I was dreaming or not. Of course, I knew I was dreaming. But I can ask you, was I dreaming? Because I could even touch my nails and I could see my hair, you know, like this. So I was flying. I was being expected by other beings in a planet far away from this universe, far, far, far away. And they were waiting for me in these big, huge black rocks, like they had a special energy. There was this huge rock, and they were telling me, we were waiting for you. We were expecting for you. Thank you for arriving. Thank you for coming. And they were not even speaking. They were just transmitting, you know, thoughts, let's say, or messages. So I was there and I was invested with some ropes or something like they put on me. But it was so far. I cannot even think how far it is. But I'm sure it was not in this notion of this universe because it was so, so different.
Not in the universe or not on the Earth? I mean,
not on the Earth, out of this system,
the universe.
Yeah.
Beyond the solar system.
Beyond the solar system.
Beyond the solar system, but within the universes. Yeah.
Beyond the universe as well, you say.
It's what I felt because I didn't recognize anything, like not even
constellations.
Or because once I can tell you that we were traveling to Isla del Sol in Los Uros, in the Uros, you know, in Titicaca Lake, where there's no light pollution, and we could see other galaxies, you know. We could see not with these instruments, but just bare sight. And yes, I can see that they are related to this, what we see in the universe sometimes.
So when your picture looked like a galaxy with jets coming out, was that deliberate? I mean, did you draw it like that, or is that how you experienced it?
It was an image that we picked without a lot of from a collection of images out there in internet. It was not deliberately you know, painted like that.
No, it was just to explain about the dimensions
I understand.
in my
but it's fascinating because what you're saying is these extra dimensions are associated with different timescales and different levels of consciousness, but also in some sense with different physical scales, because you're going beyond the Earth, you're going to the galaxy or even to the cosmos. So the Earth is just a gateway. I mean, you're going
Yes.
beyond the Earth itself and your experiences.
Yes, yeah, that's the importance of being here today. Yeah, you have the opportunity to use this gateway. I don't like the word use, but to have the experience thanks to the opportunity, thanks to Earth providing that.
Because even in
gateway.
the you know, the spiritual cases and spiritual experiences, we need to recall for this special energy that is born from Father Sky and the heart of Mother Earth, and also with the support of some sacred plants when you have these spiritual experiences. But for that, you need to really be prepared for in this case, because otherwise, you know, and one of the things that we are hearing is that we must think beautifully. In other words, with clean ideas. We need to bring clean ideas.
Yes.
Because if you bring those dirty or dark ideas, you're just going to expand, and you're going to go to the inferior levels to have very bad experiences. And it's what is happening to many people, because, you know, it's just the expansion of what you are.
And the reflection.
And the reflection what you have been working on.
Well, thank you very much. I mustn't take too much of the question time, but I found your presentation most interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bernard, for coming in. Would anyone else like to come in, ask their question, or make a contribution? Beth. Yes, Beth.
Oh, I so enjoyed your presentation. I'm going to be thinking about this for days and days and days. And I'm curious if you would say more about how you go about the preparation for responsibility and the cleansing. And you just said one thing, the beautiful thoughts, but can you say more about the preparation stages?
Yeah, I can share with you what I shared with my beloved professor and brother John Briggs, and also with beloved Robert Todd. You know, when we have been working around these notions, how to interact with these other beings and these other notions of time and spaces and so on. So my grandpa taught me something very, let's say, simple and complex at the same time. When you get up, you wait for the sunrise, and you don't say anything. You just reverence that moment, just that moment. If you are wearing a hat or something, you just reverence that moment to the sun and in direction to the sun, but in connection from where you are and who you are. And who you are is not just the physical, but also the landscape, the manscape that you have. Mindscape as well. So you reverence at that time. And then at noon, you stop doing whatever you are doing and just reverence that time. And then at dusk. He used to do that as a, you know, as an everyday practice. And I saw him doing that in other times. But I can tell you that he used to stop also at 3 p.m. And then I used to be invited by my grandma and my grandpa to sleep once in a while. But I used to be you know, I used to eat during the night because ever since I was baby, I was eating something during the night. I don't know why. I think I had that thing. So I would wake up around midnight and around 3 a.m. Sometimes he was up at that time, just witnessing, or just feeling that time. And sometimes he was not around. I don't know where he was with my grandma. They were gone at that time. When I was waking up next day, they were already in the bed. But my personal experience is that the most powerful moment here on Earth is 3 a.m. everywhere around Mother Earth, because it's perfect. There is always 3 a.m. in the world. So that's the big connection. Just think like that, you know, if you have a practice, doesn't matter what kind of religion or what kind of, it doesn't matter. You just have the chance to connect with mystery. So that's what I can tell you. And plus, you know, there are special rituals, special ceremonies for this and this other and this other. Of course, there is also fasting that we must carry out, and cleansing of the body and cleansing of thoughts, cleansing of the spirit. There are many techniques. There are many ways of doing it. It depends who you are, where you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth, for your prompt. Next, we will go to Alan.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Perhaps you could comment on this. I've never been to Mexico or South America, but I'm aware that there are some incredible ancient structures there. But I have been to Egypt twice with John Anthony West as the guide, and he was the person responsible for getting the Sphinx redated by a professional geologist who actually believed it was at least 1,500 years older than Egyptologists would say. But on these 2 trips to Egypt, he was very much of the view that we were watching a truly great civilization in decline. So if one looks at the Old Kingdom structures, it's full of mystery. Whether it's the Great Pyramid or other structures, huge blocks, actually somehow carved and lifted off the ground and aligned and all of that. And as one progresses through the centuries, everything becomes less fine, and that's true of statues. And so he was very much of the view that we were witnessing the decline of a great civilization that may well have actually been the inheritance of an earlier civilization lost to history. So I think my question is, that seems to suggest that we are not evolving, but we're going in the opposite direction. In your presentation, you described these 9 levels as though we are evolving. Could you clarify that, please? Maybe with regard to Mexico, South America, and the great civilizations that once lived there. Thank you.
Yeah. It was around 7,500 years when we were more close to living in harmony with this planet, with this Mother Earth. That was a time when we had more than 13,500 languages. Now we have almost 50% of those, around 7,500 languages, meaning that we have lost almost 50% of the diversity of languages. it means that it was that at that time when some groups or some cultures, some peoples began to take over instead of taking care, because we have forgotten how to live in this in responsibility, not just in peace, as I told you before, but in responsibility. So we are witnessing this big crisis that we might call a climate crisis, we might call a ecological crisis, and even civilizational crisis. But it's from the anthropocentric point of view that we are generating all of this at this time. And that's the reason some scientists are calling this the Anthropocene, because the way we have been affecting life systems is horrible, it's horrendous. So, but we are not the main ones. We are not the top of the creation. We are just another species. And we know it. And that's the reason we always recall for this ancestral wisdom, how to live in peace and harmony. Even original nations, original peoples, the so-called indigenous peoples, or the local communities. We still have some of that ancestral knowledge. No without the dangers that we are being polluted about this modern way of living. And I can tell you that even the United Nations are acknowledging that 80% of biodiversity in the world is in the indigenous people's territories, indigenous people's lands in the care of these local communities and local peoples. The fact is that it's not easy to carry out this work, because now because of modern life, because of mining companies, because of logging companies, urban sprawl, and so on and so forth, even this 80% is being menaced. So the whole thing is the civilizational crisis. But Mother Earth has her own rhythm, her own messages. And we are witnessing that. That's the reason the floodings, as a response of the so-called climate change, the fires, and sometimes even the scientists, they don't even explain what this kind of fires cannot be controlled if you have enough technology. What is happening? What is going on here? So I can tell you that Mother Earth is a being beyond this species, and she can make it without us, but we cannot. We cannot. So we better behave. We better listen to ancestral wisdom and be humble. Even the science has to be moved the way it has, because there is evil science. Not all the science is good, and we have been witnessing how this is being advanced. So we are in peril. We are. And we are just living on the skin of Mother Earth. What does it mean for the millions and billions of years? Who we are? Are we really worth even to live here as a species? So let's think about that. What kind of creatures we are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for coming in, and thank you, Mindahi, for that answer. It really reminds me of this sort of attitude towards looking at the future. Reminds me of the Power Center's sort of subtitle, which is "The Future Has an Ancient Heart," and maybe what you're maybe trying to say is the future should have an ancient heart. Thank you for that. So yes, we're just about 1 minute past the hour, so I guess we should start closing. Do you both have any quick last minute words just to close this session?
I always want to share that it's not about what kind of future we are delivering to the future generations. It's what kind of future generations we are delivering to this planet. Thank you.
And Geraldine, do you have anything to say before we go?
Well, as a mother of a climate justice activist, it's so beautiful to listen to her as she comes so excited about what she's learning in geology, at the university, where she's come to realize, how we are precisely on this very, very fine skin of Earth, and that, however much effort we may be bringing in currently as a movement for the betterment of anthropogenic systems, so that Earth will not be suffering so much. Well, it might seem as though we are going to contribute so much to Mother Earth, but in reality, considering the age of Earth and and the scale at which she is unfolding her own geological events, we are just a speck, and we're not so important and so relevant for her own unfolding and experience. And nevertheless, from an energetic point of view, and considering all these kinds of experiences and all that has been collected throughout time by different civilizations, even if in general, yes, there is an absolute civilization crisis, there seems to be a necessity to become agents for the the unfolding of Earth according to her rules and her cycles and her history moving forward. So yes, even if it's gonna take just a few of us doing a little bit of contribution for harmony in all the social ecosystems, we should really pursue that task and that work with good intentions and thinking beautifully. That's definitely gonna help Earth and beyond. So
Thank you both so much for today. Thank you for sharing your experiences, your knowledge, and your wisdom. You've really brought forward a really important aspect of multiple universes when we talk about multiple universes. So thank you all both so much. And thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for participating both in the chat or asking your questions. And yes, hope to see you all tomorrow, where we'll have Jean-Francois, who will have his session entitled May the Force Be Between Us, exploring our multiverse with the help of Star Wars and others. If you have any problems, any questions that you'd like to direct to us, please contact us on our website in the Contact Us section, or you can write to us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or just email us directly at james@powercenter.com to contact me, or Eleanor@powercenter.com to contact Eleanor. Thank you all again for joining us. Thank you so much, Geraldine and Mindahi, and we'll see you again soon here at the Power Center.